Hi, thanks for stopping by the Frugal Kitchen. This is my cookie jar and it's empty, which is a travesty because I always have cookies. I haven't bought store-bought cookies in over a year because I realized I had in so many cookie recipes. They were easy to make and it actually cost me less and involved less plastic waste for me to just make my own cookies. But it's empty, so I'm going to make one of my and my husband's favorite recipes, Thumbprint cookies, which have a center of jelly in the middle. I think it's a shortbread, with the center of jelly in the middle that you create using your thumb or a teaspoon if you have one of those that's round. So, see you in a minute. I have this great KitchenAid stand mixer, which
You have.
which my husband bought before he even met me. But it's really great for baking. Honestly, I think I use this thing every week, at least once. You can also, if you don't have the space for this, buy like a hand mixer it's smaller, you just hold it and you get a big bowl, and you've seen them. You can also mix a lot of things by hand, but I lack the upper body strength to do that well anymore. I used to not own any electric appliances as far as like the mixing things and the accessories. I just had bowls and spoons and I made it work. So you can also make it work without the fancy stuff. We're gonna do a cup of butter, which is 2 sticks, and a cup of white sugar. We're gonna cream this, which basically means you mix the sugar and butter, until it's nice and pretty and even.
Okay.
You want the butter to be softened, but it doesn't have to be like crazy soft. Sometimes I let it sit on the counter for too long. So we're gonna cream the butter and sugar. This is adding air to the concoction. I don't know why I say that word all the time. So that the cookies aren't like flat and dense and hard and crunchy and awful. If you have butter that's too melted or softened for too long, then your cookies are going to be kind of hard and crispy, and most people don't like them that way. They prefer them to be on the slightly softer side, and this recipe is usually pretty soft, so you will enjoy it. Ooh, that looks pretty good. I might make it go a little bit longer. If you cream your butter too much, then you'll also get that hard, flat, crunchy cookie situation. So it's almost like you have to practice to know how far to let it go. Basically, if you see them fairly mixed up like together pretty well and not big chunks of butter by itself, then you're good. I think actually it's pretty good. This recipe has 3 egg yolks. You always want to crack your eggs not directly into your food in case one of the eggs is rotten. Separating eggs is not always the easiest thing to do, and I'm not doing a very good job right now, but as long as no yolk gets in, or no white gets in my bowl, that's good. This recipe also says you can, once the cookies or the dough is done, you can dunk them in the egg whites before you bake them. I don't think that that's the best thing to do with egg whites. For one thing, it doesn't add that much to the flavor of the cookie, and it kind of gives it like this weird glossy, and honestly sometimes it looks like straight up egg white on it. Got this shell. So what I do with my leftover egg whites so that I don't waste any food is I make myself an egg white omelet the day after I make this, or even the same day. So this will probably be my dinner. I'll throw some cheese and some lunch meat in it and some salt and pepper, and it'll be wonderful. Okay, so the dough should look closer like this, kind of evenly distributed flour and wet ingredients. You don't want it too dry or too wet. Make the dough into balls. It says 2 inches in diameter, but that's kind of big, so I kind of just do it like this. There's this much dough left. So I think this recipe basically makes, this is 2.5 dozen, like it's not quite, you know, an even dozen amount. I'm going to wet this because it's a lot easier to make the holes when it's wet. You could also use your thumb, which is what I did before I moved in with Scott, because these are his. I didn't have anything else. Just go in about halfway with your thumb. Now for the fun part. I have raspberry jam and strawberry preserves. Actually, that's raspberry preserves too. So just scoop out, the recipe says you need a 1/2 cup of jam, but that's a gross exaggeration because I wrote that recipe and I just wanted to make sure I didn't run out. I think a 1/4 cup should be fine, a 1/3 cup maybe to be on the safe side, but see, I have this much raspberry left, and that's probably enough for 9 cookies. We'll see. Okay, so we preheated the oven to 400 degrees. We're gonna put them in for 11 to 12 minutes. I'm probably gonna put the timer on 11 and then just come peek at them and see how they look. And we'll put it on a little bit longer if necessary. They're going to need to be slightly brown, but it's really hard to describe because I haven't seen it in a while. So I'll just show you what it's supposed to look like. And they are still kind of raw, so I'm gonna put it in for 2 more minutes. You can see it's making, I guess, dimples or cracks, and it's starting to get slightly brown on the underside, which is what I was trying to say. The bottom one is always darker than the upper one. Let's see what this looks like. This one's doing okay too. They're hard. Not hard, but you know, firming. This one looks like it's too close to the top of the oven, I bet. Because these, I think I'm gonna take off. I think these are okay. The surfaces are drying and they're not like wet to touch. So I'm gonna take these off. When you do baked goods, be careful not to, you kind of want them in the center of the oven. The center, like make the rack in the center. I used to make cakes and cookies and I had the rack on the bottom of the oven and things got like burned all the time or they cooked unevenly. So that may be what happened with this one. I think the top rack was a little too close to the top of the oven and it cooked unevenly. So let's see what the next batch does. These are cooling racks, which are very helpful because they allow air to hit all sides of the cookies or whatever you're putting on here. But if you don't have these, you can use paper towels or regular cloth towels. So this looks better. So they're kind of like slightly brown along the outside. They are definitely dry, slightly smushy. When you are making cookies, if you realize that you're not going to eat them all in the time before they might get kind of hard, which is honestly like 3 or 4 days, they start to get hard. You have 2 options. You can either separate the amount you're going to eat in a few days and freeze the rest, and then just take those out whenever you're ready to eat them. Or, and this is less accurate, you can put in, and when the cookies get like all hard and crunchy and not super good anymore, you can put in a slice of bread. The slice of bread does something I don't understand to the cookies, and it makes the cookies soft and the bread gets hard. But when I do this, a lot of times it only affects the cookie that's touching the bread. So you have a soggy cookie, and then the rest of the cookies are hard and the bread is hard. So then you have to get another slice of bread and try again, and that's a pain. So you should just prepare ahead of time and freeze what you're not going to eat right away. And like half a dozen cookies. Keep a half a dozen cookies out, and then when you finish those, that way at least you won't be eating like 2 dozen cookies in a one weekend, because nobody wants to do that. We're gonna let these cool, and then we're gonna come and taste them, and you will be amazed. Okay, they are nice and cooled. You can see how they break. They're soft and a little bit crunchy on the outside. They have a heavy butter taste too. This one's strawberry, I think. And the jam kind of hardens a bit up here too. Thank you for joining us, making these quick cookies, Thumbprint cookies. Let me know how you like them. Thank you.